What is up, guys? And today we are going to be playing our favorite Incredibles hero, Frozone, in Destiny 2. This build will be making use of a role, doesn't matter what tier it is, Headstone and Firefly on Solemn Remembrance, the new competitive Crucible handcannon. This was, until recently, very annoying to get, but as of now, they not only improved how bonus rewards are distributed at the end of a competitive match, but they also made it so that you can get this on just games played. You don't have to win anymore. We're going to be rocking it with Verity's Brow, an exotic that basically boosts your grenade damage when you get weapon final blows, and Eriana's Vow for some nice anti-barrier long-range capabilities, especially since we already have anti-overload and anti-unstop built into the kit. You need to run Glacier Grenade, which is a grenade that creates a bunch of ice blocks that you can then shoot and they will explode. Ice Flare Bolts, every time you shatter a frozen target, it will spawn Cold Snap Seekers that will freeze more targets. This is really nice for ad clear and spreading around our Glacial Harvest aspect, which anytime you freeze a target, it creates stasis shards around the frozen target. The higher tier the combatant, the more shards they create. Glacial Harvest also allows so that when you pick up stasis shards, you get stacks of frost armor, and then the shards themselves give you melee energy. However, one of the seasonal mods we're going to use is going to make it so that these shards will not only give us melee energy, but also will give us energy to whatever our lowest ability is, which will usually be grenade, super, whatever. Our fragments are going to be Whisper of Conduction so that the shards will track to us, and it gives us a little bit of a super boost, so that spares us some mod there. Whisper of Fissures, which increases the damage and size of the burst of your stasis explosions whenever you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. Whisper of Rime allows our frost armor to have an increased duration and maximum stack count. If you don't want to run this, running Whisper of Torment or Whisper of Shards will give you increased grenade uptime, and Whisper of Chains will give even more stasis shards by defeating targets while you have frost armor. And then Whisper of Rending, which allows our primary ammo weapons to do increased damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. This works incredibly well with our Solemn Remembrance because it allows the gun to 1 to 2 shot stasis crystals, which lets you just throw your Glacier Grenade on something like a champion, shoot the crystals, and they'll explode and almost immediately kill the champion. For our seasonal mods, Flame Fiber and Freeze makes it so that you can run a Solar and Stasis Siphon mod in one with Frost, so that whenever Frost Armor is active, our stasis weapons, this being Solemn Remembrance, and if you run a Stasis Heavy, will get increased reload speed and stability. Fever and Chill, so that our rapid solar precision hits will grant Radiant, and our rapid precision hits with Stasis grant more Frost Armor. Refresh Threads, this one is absolutely required. Even if you don't really like a bunch of these other ones, you absolutely require Refresh Threads in order to make this as good as it can be, because this makes it so every time you pick up a stasis shard, which they will be pulled to you by conduction, your lowest charged ability will get more energy, which is absolutely phenomenal. You will notice it, it's crazy. Cauterized Darkness. Darkness debuffed non-boss combatants will take increased solar damage from all sources. This combines really well with if you use a solar heavy, or in this case, I'm rocking Eriana's Vow as well. Elemental Daze, so that the few times you do feel you need to stun a champion, they will have a huge explosion of stasis or solar, depending on whatever weapon you stun them with. And that's very nice. If you want, instead of this, and you're instead just running with a team and you can output enough damage to deal with the champions, Shoulder to Shoulder is really nice sustainability on yourself, because dealing the sustained precision damage while you're near 2 allies, it says near, it's a pretty good range, so as long as you're running with your team, this will give you a pretty good amount of damage resist. And then I'm rocking Elemental Coalescence, so that anytime you defeat targets, it has a chance to create an elemental pickup, matching your equipped super. This is more stasis shards. In our final column, Elemental Overdrive, which allows you, when you pick up a stasis shard, it increases the damage that your Solemn Remembrance does, or if you rock a heavy weapon that is stasis, it will increase that damage as well, something like a chill inhibitor. And then Frigid Glare, while Frost Armor is active, Stasis Precision Final Blows will cause combatants to release a freezing burst. This even more stacks with the Firefly and Headstone interaction, because what happens is Headstone pops, then the Firefly explodes the Headstone, and then while that's happening, the freezing burst happens. So it's very, very fun. These are the armor mods I run. On my Verities, I rock a special ammo finder so that Eriana's is fully loaded. I am using an old exotic, so I'm getting an extra 10 from my grenade mod and an extra 3 from an artifice armor slot. If you have a modern roll of this that is like a god roll for the current times, it will probably be better because it'll be spikier than mine is, but this does me just fine, so I'm using it. With special ammo finder and the extra siphon for solar and stasis, but I'm running an extra harmonic siphon because I had an extra piece of energy for just stasis, so that the stasis weapon final blows that create orbs of power, it's a little bit of a stronger orb. That's all it does, really. On the gauntlets, I'm rocking grenade kickstart and grenade font so that I can hit 196 grenade reliably, and then kickstart also lets you consume your armor charges every time you use a grenade, and then bolstering detonation so that every time you cause damage with this grenade, your class ability energy comes back. Just a nice little feedback loop with Reaper. On the rogues, I'm rocking sniper damage resistance, concussive dampener, and then run an elemental resistance that matches whatever activity you're doing. On the legs, I'm rocking a weapon surge for stasis and solar. You can really do one of these if you want, if you're focusing on that damage. I just like switching around using a little bit of everything. That's just how I like to play the game, so I'm using both. With orbs of restoration, so that while we're getting the stasis shards giving energy to our lowest ability, these orbs of restoration also cause orbs of power to give energy to our lowest ability. And then on the bond, I'm using a class font so I can get my class back more frequently. I'll be rocking about 74 stat while it's active, and Reaper, which makes it so that shortly after using our class ability, our next weapon final blow will spawn an orb of power with powerful attraction. Similar idea to the fragment of conduction. This makes it so that whenever you use your class ability near orbs of power, it will automatically absorb them so that you have less attention to pay to running all over them. For the weapons, obviously Solemn Remembrance. I'm rocking Ariana's Vow. You could probably rock any kind of solar long-range weapon here. You can use your exotic in special or in the heavy slot. If you're rocking like rockets with your friends, you can use Galahorn and then buff their rockets. Whatever you really want to do here, you can use a stasis weapon, something like a Palmyra or a chill inhibitor, whatever you really want. And that is the build. If you want, you can use different kinds of armor sets. I'm still rocking Lustrous just because my Solstice gear rolled really well stat-wise. So even though the rapid solar final blows are not going to really come into play too much here, it's still going to be something. If you enjoyed this kind of content, feel free to let me know in the comments below, like the video, and subscribe for more. Peace, gamers.